You're really funny.
It's like that video I showed
Hey,
you
Joe, you
where
are live. Careful what you
I
say.
know, no, it was like that video I showed you of us on vacation doing that challenge,
Yeah,
where it's like you go on camera and you're trying to have a straight face and be
right. You
serious.
guys try. Get your face. Hey, what do we do every Wednesday at 7 o'clock? It is Wine Wednesday. We've been doing this for 3 years. It's Joni Bates and Brett Ray with JB and Co. And thank you, Brett. Brett is on my team, and he is my boots to my heels. And we're talking 101 investing today. Hello, friend.
How are you today, Joni? Seems like we haven't seen each other in a little bit.
We have not seen each other in a little bit. So good to see you. I love the background, sir. Love the
Thank
background.
you.
Let's do some housekeeping. First things first, this is open forum. Y'all put your chats in there and we'll read them, answer them. They'll run across the bottom on the ticker. And then underneath where it says 101 investing, that's where the topic is going to be as far as what we're talking about. Last week, we were our first session of 101 investing, and you guys loved it. You really loved it. You wanted more. So that's what we're here to give you. And this is recorded, and it is also right now it's live. It's on YouTube, and it's under Joni Bates Sells. And go ahead and do all the YouTube things as far as follow and like. And it is also live on 2 Facebook pages, my business page, Joni Bates Sells, and also my personal page. So all those comments will stay with all of those forums. And let's rock and roll. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. So can I do something since we're like live on
Hit
YouTube
it.
and TV?
What you got to do?
So, you just start talking, and if you know that I don't know what to do with my hands. And the Ricky Bobby fans would appreciate
Ricky
that.
Bobby, Ricky Bobby, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. So last week, Brett, we really went through and hit vocabulary. It wasn't sexy, it wasn't fun. It was truly going to school about investing. And the goal for today is to talk about after you've done your homework, after if you didn't watch last week's, it's in there. Go ahead and watch it. After you've done all those things, you're ready for boots on the ground. And what we mean by boots on the ground is physically going to look at properties. And Brett has become literally my boots on the ground. He is very good at identifying properties, identifying areas, and he knows what that looks like. So I'm going to get to where we left off last week. Here we are, boots on the ground. Brett, when we talk about being a student, what's the biggest thing at JB and Co. when we're talking to our newbie investors and they're about to go out and look at some homes?
Um, but I mean, you've got to be open and listen and be receptive to. I mean, you're an active investor, so if I went out and hired somebody, I want to know you're listening for their vocabulary.
Right.
So if I'm saying, well, what would be my ROI on this? And if you're like, ROI, what? Then I'm just gonna hang up the phone. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
That's
but
an excellent point. You want to talk to someone who knows what they're doing. So if you're an investor and you call an agent and you start using the vocabulary that you learned from last week, and I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't be calling Brett and I, but if you weren't calling Brett and I, and you were asking about, hey, I'm looking for an ARV in this particular area of Smyrna, whatever, Johns Creek, and they kind of say, I don't know what that is. Well, they're not the right person.
right, um, and I mean, it's when we say boots on the ground, it's almost. I've heard people talk about driving for dollars. I mean, it's windshield time, and you kind of got to know. You got to look ahead. You got to see what's coming because my feeling is if you're stepping into a hot market, you're already paying top dollar for getting into the game. Whereas if you get into an area that hasn't popped yet, but you see it coming, everything supports it,
Right.
then if you jump in early, you're going to make some money.
Yeah.
And
And that I think right there is the big key. When we talk about, I mean, we work with, I don't know, we have a lot of investors we work with, and we strategically know the prime areas just by looking at the map as far as where is it in relation to highways, schools, what's coming, what's happening, hubs for places like UPS, Amazon, any different things. And then we target those particular areas. And our investors don't necessarily know why we're showing them those areas, but then that's part of the education process is
right.
we
And
know what the value will be, even though the value currently seems so low, and they're kind of confused by that. And
and
then we also,
if you watch the dollars too, like where who's spending money to be in a certain area,
mhm,
like Amazon. I heard on the news today there's a company from Japan making a move out here, and
exactly.
those are important little key indicators that growth is happening somewhere, and eventually those people who work in those plants or wherever are going to need a place to live, and they don't want to live in a junky place.
Well, exactly. And everyone needs a door and a roof. I mean, everyone needs that. And then as far as us working with our investors, we always look to serve, and we really disseminate that information out to our folks. Is this can be a lot of mission work. People need a place to live, and things happen in life and they need a place to be. So when we take our investors out, we don't let people buy a house the first day they're out. That's just not good business for us. Maybe a lot of real estate agents are like, their money, their problem. No, we are in it for the long haul with our people. So we recommend that you go into at least 50 homes. It can be an open house, it can be a vacant, but you need to physically see, smell, hear, touch 50 homes. What's your thoughts on that, Brett?
Yeah, I mean, you need to see all phases. So if you see one that's being flipped, like actively being flipped, go to talk to the contractor and be like, why are you doing this? Like get to know you got to get to know what people want, and you kind of got to get to know what you're getting yourself into. So because you there are homes that are quote unquote the money pit, that are out there, and you don't want that home.
You
And
don't want
that's
that. Exactly. Exactly.
and I kind of feel it's my job, and I know Joni does as well, that we're that buffer. Like if something comes down from you that is a bad deal, I'm going to say no. I'm like, mm-mm.
100%. Yeah, we literally, and that's part of why Brett and I work so well together is we have no problem being brutally honest. We stand in the gap with our deals, but we also say no. I mean, we do our one and run, five and buy it. We want to know on a scale what our buyers are thinking about a property. We're also rating that property. You know, if we're at a one, we're going to tell our client, this isn't the one. This isn't the
Right.
one.
And usually if my client says, nope, I'm at this price, I'm going to say, I am telling you right now, this is what it's going to sell for. And then I make it plain, and I'll say, I'll list it for what you want it. And then we'll let it sit there for a minute. And then it happens, but this is what we do each and every day. And we actually have a different perspective because we hear what the buyers want, and we can just go tell our investors this is what you need to do on your flip, and it'll sell so quick.
Boom. What you just said is because this is just a Tuesday for us. We are 24/7 realtors, and we understand what people want, where they want it, and how fast they want it. And then we can give that to our investors and say, if you do this over and over and over again, you're printing money, right? So let's talk about determining the gut level bandwidth for homes. And Brett, you and I really understand this. We can walk into a there's one house, I gotta tell this story, that you took some investors to in town and had a super box on the front, but the whole back side was burnt
Oh
out.
yeah. I mean,
You got the front door locked. I'm proud of you, but there's no back to the house.
yeah, um I believe it used to be the laundry room. It was just one wall was gone, but I mean, at
Yeah.
least the ivy was covering the wall, or what used to be the wall, to
Yeah.
mask that a little. But stepping over needles and
Hmm.
caving, the roof was actually coming in too on us.
Right. And that's a big thing is it's okay as a new investor to start going through because we cast a wide net. We're going to take you to everything. We're going to take you to townhomes. We're going to take you to single family homes. We're going to take you to duplexes. And there's going to be caution tape. It might be burnt out. There might be things, but very quickly, Brett and I are able to determine just by the look on your face is this is not for you, and that's okay. Let's go look at this, and we can gauge that. And then later on, you might be like, I need nasty. I can smell money.
Yeah,
Um, it's a process. It's a process. And this is important. You really need to see beyond the mess. And a lot of the houses that we talk about for our investors are not on FMLS. They're not on Zillow. They're not on Redfin. They're not on any of that stuff. They are the deals that come in the back door, and you do not have a lot of time when you go to see these homes to establish if it's something you want. So you have to get to the point while being a student and listening to your teachers, us, about what's important. So when you walk in and there's dirty diapers, there's a crib, there's it's a mess, and you start thinking, oh, there's children here that you can't do that. You can't do that.
yeah,
You have to see beyond the mess in order to be an investor. What's your thoughts on that, Brett?
yeah. And I mean, it's okay to have a heart
Mhm.
for like things, and when you really get to rolling, you can get into the pre-foreclosure things and stuff like that, which those get pretty crazy, but they're exciting. um, but at the end of the day, you still got to feed your family. And I mean, and as an investor, you got to start thinking numbers, and then build, later on, that you can have that goal of, hey, if somebody's in a bad place, I'll have a place to put them. But
Exactly.
that needs to be your goal. That's not something that you can do right now.
Exactly. That's a goal. And there's no timeline for investing. You can take your time learning, going through the process. We do not mind investing in our folks because we love it. We have investor hearts and servant hearts, and that's just what we do. I got in here, smell beyond the nasty, because man, sometimes you walk in like this. What do you think, Brett? I think it's great.
I smell money. That's,
And right?
um, and you were talking about, I'm looking at all these smell beyond the nasty, look beyond the mess.
Mhm.
One other thing is, like, even the first time home buyers is like buying a multifamily,
Yeah,
letting somebody else pay your mortgage. And I mean, there's so many levels of investing that you can do on a large scale, or you could do, I mean, most of us would just start off with a small home and then just build up from there.
exactly. And when you first time home buyers often use an FHA loan, you can go into a quad. So you can buy a quad, which means 4 units within a structure, live in one and rent out the others, and still use your FHA benefit. I mean, that to me, I would love to see more folks in that space, particularly young folks. I would like to see some of my first time home buyers who have the time and energy and might not be down in that they haven't had kids yet or whatever, get into that and hold that space and then go get your next house. And
All right.
anyways, I love that. Another part about boots on the ground for 101 for investing is experience the home as it was intended. Um, every home at one point had a golden year. It was beautiful. It was either brand new or just redone. The yard is manicured. There were kids playing in the back, whatever. That home can come back. So when you're an investor and you're standing on the street looking at it thinking, I don't see it, it's our job to help you put on those glasses of vision so you can see and experience the home as it was intended. And then you can see your ROI and you can see to your exit. Because we don't go into a deal, we don't go into a situation without at least two exits in mind. And that's our job, to make sure we have exits. And what I mean by exits is money. Like, how are you getting out of this with money in your pocket so that you can keep doing that?
And right, and we'll tell you if it needs to be completely scraped, we'll let you know. We'll just like you need to scrape it.
Define that. That's a term a lot of people don't know.
Oh, scrape. Basically, you're demoing the house. You're just taking it back to either if it's a slab or down to the basement, and then rebuild the whole thing.
You're basically buying it for the land and the utilities. You know, it's already got utilities because it's a house, but the house isn't worth saving. And you have, this happens right now in areas, not just in town, but we call it a renaissance or a, what is that word?
Gentrification.
I can't say that word. Yes, yes, and yes. Another important thing that Brett and I are very good at is when you go to a home, you're not wearing cute shoes. You're not going in there like you're going to a party. You're going to have sensible shoes on, preferred something that if you step on something, it's not going to go through the shoe. You're going to have a baseball cap on because there's going to be lots of spider webs. And you're going to have a flashlight, and you're going to be very aware of your surroundings. Because most of the time they're abandoned homes, and you need to make sure that you're safe. And we always walk the entire exterior of the home and the perimeter of the land, because we found some stuff. We have found some stuff on a property that sometimes the property owner didn't even know was there. Yeah, sheds, different things, neighbors building on their lot, and they didn't even know it. So,
yeah,
you have to absolutely get a lay of the land. Let's talk about the 5 major expenses, i.e. systems, of a home that we always look at. And this is, if you're taking notes, this is when you're taking your notes. One of the most expensive things in a home is the roof. The roof. It's real basic. Look up. You can tell when a roof has been there a long time. And that is a major expense, but very doable. I mean, not difficult to get a roof done in a matter of 3 to 5 days. We've got lots of people. Depending on the square footage, you're looking at a complete replace is about $8,000.
Well, and I mean, if you wanted to get creative, if you could pull off one of those farmhouse or one of those the tin roofs, they're making a big comeback, and some of them look like shingles now, which is pretty cool.
They got some cool stuff. They have some cool stuff. Next thing that's super important is you want to look at your structure. You want to look at, when you're walking around the house, a lot of times for investors, we're looking at 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick ramblers. These have been there since 1950. They're not going anywhere. But what you want to look for is around the home. The problem with the brick rambler is water, structure, deterioration, pressure from the earth on the outside pushing in, damp, wet, crumbling cinder block. So structure can...
Any bulges that you look for bulge. Wet spots, like I mean, I wouldn't do it today. I'd refuse to crawl under that one house. But
I saw you. You took a picture, stuck your phone under it and took a picture, but he wouldn't go under.
Too many spider webs. I was scared. I didn't have a stick. But you just look at the joints, make sure there's no cracking or separating in the joints, and then look just if they're wet, if they look wet. And then while you're looking under there, you can also look, and because most of your plumbing is under there, some of your HVAC may run through there. So kind of get a lay of how well kept it was under there too. So
and that's a perfect segue into plumbing. Plumbing is another one of the big 5. You really need to see what kind of piping it is. There's a lot of pipes right now that, folks are like, you can't have polybutylene. You won't be, I said it right. You won't get insurance on that home. There's other class action lawsuits against some other, so you really need to know what kind of plumbing you have. And what needs to be replaced. Sometimes it's just easier when you're, taking down walls and doing things, is just replace that plumbing. Just do it now.
Also, your main, your main
Yes.
going out for your
Mhm.
sewage. I mean, is it cast iron? Is it cast iron to the street? Has it been crushed at one point? So you got to be, especially downtown.
Oh yeah.
Um, we had that one house that we were working on that it was kind of weird, but I mean, it was an older house that had the big cast iron pipes.
And it's crazy because it has the big cast iron pipes, and then sometimes the top is off of it, and you're
Mhm.
like, this is an exposed sewer line, but that's how it was done back in town, back in 1930s, 40s. And then you start looking at all those big, beautiful magnolia trees that have big, beautiful roots that like to grow into
Mhm.
your um your main line. So those are expensive things that you have to have an eye for. And sometimes Brett and I have had discussions. I'm like, I think the line's broke because there's a dip in the front yard. I don't think it is. I think it is. I don't think it is. We're just
It's, we just need to fight it out. That's what
we
we need
do.
to do.
A next big expense is electrical. Okay, so this isn't sexy. What's your panel look like? There are some old panels with what is a little thing called? It's got the little
The fuse,
it's got the fuse, but it's the real old one that looks like
is it screw in?
the screw in circle
Yeah,
little ones.
it's a
There are.
fuse.
I thought it was called something different. I'm
It's
forgetting
called
my name.
fuse.
Um, those have to be replaced. That is not code. So if you're the one coming in and you see that, you're going to spend some money. Also, air conditioning. A lot of places just don't have it. If you think you're going to flip a house or rent a house and it's currently got window units, you're going to need to put in an
Can I
HVAC.
make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Because I had a moment. My
Yes.
wife, one of our breakers went out in our panel.
Hmm.
Having to reorder. Our house was built in 2000.
Okay.
Having to reorder just one breaker, 15 amp breaker, $300. So you might want to just talk to some people in the professions and see what the costs are for those things. And it may be just cheaper to just go ahead and replace something.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just easier to start over than to try to piece together something. And particularly if this is a hold with a burr and you're looking at becoming a landlord for that home, you're going to want it to be right because you're not going to, I mean, you always want it to be right, but you know what I'm saying? If you're holding that home, you might as well just do it when the walls are down.
Hmm.
All right. So we talked about that. And the next one, surprisingly, this is the most expensive part of being an investor. Your HVAC, there's so many things in it. I mean, in Atlanta, it's hot. Um, Multiple units you might need. You might need all your ductwork replaced. You might need, particularly if you're adding another room or if you're taking a space like a garage or flex space and you want it to be considered part of the square footage to increase your value, it has to be conditioned.
Yeah, and you
Um,
might have to increase the whole tonnage on
mhm,
your house because or add another unit.
mhm.
But I mean, if you think outside the box, don't you may not need to add a whole unit with all the ductwork work. You could just put in one of those little mini split units
Exactly.
and you're good.
Yes, yes. And it's still considered conditioned space.
Hmm.
That's the key. We're talking about tax records, we're talking about square footage. When we're looking at homes, we're not looking at the price of the home, we're looking at the value per square foot. What is it now? What is it going to be? And how much do I need to put into it to get it there? And that's how we break down our numbers is by square foot. So if you can increase square footage, you just made money. I'm talking real fast again. Okay. And here's something that we need to talk about. If you're handy and you want to do the big five yourself, you can. But the key is when you go to sell it, someone's going to ask you for a permit. Someone down the line, we're going to, if we see work's been done, we're going to ask where permits pooled. So understand that if you're trying to save money, it might be best to get a good GC, which we have, who's going to pull those permits, is going to do it the right way. So you don't end up in trouble down the line. Now I'm just telling everybody what to do. And this is something Brett and I have both seen with all different clients. While you're going through the 50 homes that you have to go through in order to become educated, intuitively, organically educated on what you like, you're going to gravitate towards certain types of homes, certain areas, and the comfort level for where your sweet spot is as an investor is just going to become very apparent. We're going to see it before you do. But it's kind of a cool process because you really do need to be comfortable. I mean, you're spending some money and you want to make some money. So you need to know where you want to be. And to be real honest with you, one of my first investments was new construction. I built the house with the intention of renting it because I didn't know what I was doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Every builder who starts, digging into the dirt, the prices are low because they need people to start coming in. So if you see dirt moving around, go buy.
Yeah.
You've got warranties on everything. All your 5 systems are brand new. And you're instantly going to get equity by the time that neighborhood builds out.
And see I think the value that working, I don't toot my horn, but working mainly with Joni is we know what to look for. And we begin to share with you what you need to look for while you're out driving around. And it will let you know where the flags are, the little red flags that you're like, okay, this is where I need to go. Um, but here's my thing is don't limit yourself to one area. If Be open to just listening because I like to push boundaries a little bit, and every once in a while we'll find a gym or there's a big possibility of maybe a year later than you intended, things blow up there and you're about to make a lot of money.
Because I mean, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about diversifying your portfolio. We're talking about getting out of the unpredictability of the market and somebody else telling you what your money's doing. And in this situation, you get to control that. But just like with the stock market, you're going to be educated as to what kind of stocks you're going to buy. It's the exact same thing. It's our job to educate you into areas, situations, and where there has been success.
Yeah, and we'll kind of I try to lead you in the direction that if you need to quick flip it, we'll let you know quick flip it. This is what you need to do. Or if you need to flip and hold and ride it out for a couple of years because in 2 years I think you're probably going to be sitting at, maybe half 50% more in value. I mean, because I see places that are about to explode.
Yes.
And the housing is not there.
Yeah. So Brett is very good at being intuitive, and he truly is boots on the ground. I am boots on the ground, but I'm much more of the negotiator. And so together, we really make this amazing unit as far as our investors. And our investors have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
They do. They absolutely do. So I see some questions coming in. Y'all, feel free to ask any specific questions you have in regards to what we just talked about in regards to last week. And you can be as specific as you want. I mean, if you need to go down a rabbit hole, that's fine. We're here for that. I also want to talk about, while you guys are typing, I see some folks typing. Let's talk about seller financing for a minute. We love some creative financing. And what that means for you guys is we can get you into situations where you're assuming someone's loan. You're doing a subject to an existing loan. We're not necessarily going into a tax auction or any of that stuff. These are much more, we're helping someone else get out of a situation by providing them a service, which is usually cash. And that cash is coming from you guys, the investors, and you're going to be getting into a home at a fraction of the cost of what it would be on the market.
Yeah, because I think my interest rate on my home's at a 3. No, it's just a little less than a 3. Where I'm in the 2s, but if I can assume somebody that has potentially paid off, maybe has 100,000 left over on their mortgage, I just say, hey, I'll step in, take over your payments, make them on your behalf, and then I'll give you 25 grand to walk. And then I put 50 grand in that house and then I sell it for 400.
Exactly. And this isn't Disney Fairyland. It's happening every day. You just need to know where to hunt. And that's what we do really well is we hunt. I mean, I got to brag on you, Brett. We have a lead generation. It's called Sync, and we have lots of people in that. We call it it's just part of the business. Brett is super good at talking to folks, and he's talking to one of our investors through that Sync, and he's connecting dots through Facebook, through all different things. He bird dog a $1.1 million deal.
We're
Bird
under contract.
under contract just from connecting dots with folks. Someone's about to make a lot of money based on that connection.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're just because we're in Marietta doesn't mean we won't go somewhere a little bit. Because I mean, I was kind of being serious, but playing about the mountains and going down to the beach. I'll do it. I mean, if that's something that is in your vision to be in your portfolio,
Right.
and you say, hey, I need to go a little bit further south, let's
Right.
go. And I mean, you've got your license in Alabama, correct, Johnny?
Yep.
So I mean, I'm going to start working on mine for pretty much the remainder of the surrounding area, and branch out and start really helping people.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If it's your jam to have a beach house, get it now. It doesn't have to be the 10-bedroom beach house where you're having, your parties in 30 years and all the grandkids are coming. Start now with a 2-1 at the beach and get to know the area and build on that. You don't have to go from 0 to 100. You can absolutely start small, even if you're looking at maybe doing an Airbnb or a VRBO. We do those too. It's just a different way of doing it, different things to look at, different numbers to put together to make sure you're whole. But yeah, there's all different ways to make some mailbox money. So we have been talking for 30 minutes, and we have some folks who have DM'd me privately, so I will reach back out to you. Let us know if there's anything else you want to hear. Next week, we're going to be doing our final in regards to investing, and we're going to be on site at a home, walking around. Brett, you're coming with me, by the way, showing you what we look at when we look at homes. And we are truly a phone call away. We do this on repeat.
No stilettos, Joni.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times where I've had meetings or I've been at a closing and I've showed up at a distressed property. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going in, but Brett's here.
Well, you could aerate the lawn as you walk around.
I have done that too. Or I just end up tossing it. It's all good. Thank you, Brett Ray, for being here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You got it. You got it. All right, guys. So again, this is going to be recorded. It is on YouTube and it is going to be saved on Facebook. And call us, and I'll see you all next week, same time. Bye,
Thank you.
Brett.
Bye.